I'm just going to weave this tail in my tapestry needle. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make the cuff on the other side of the shoe. So as you can see, this is kind of still loose on here because we haven't sewn it down yet. But we're going to make the cuff on the other side of the shoe. So what you need to do is turn it over. And I still have some loose ends here that'll need to be tucked in eventually. But you're going to want to attach your yarn to the top right corner of the shoe, the heel side. So we're going to turn it like this. And we're going to attach our yarn here. And then we're going to chain 13 just like we did for the other side. So find that kind of like a corner spot here, the top of the shoe. Attach our yarn. And just like before, I'm going to take my tail and kind of lock it in before I chain my first one. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And then we're going to do just like what we did before, where we kind of take it over to the other top corner of the shoe. And attach it with a slip stitch to this side. So it should look like this. So once you have your cuff attached on this side, we're going to fasten off, but leave a really long tail so we can sew both sides down. So I'm going to go ahead and leave a really long tail. I got mine off. And then we can start sewing these down just so they're not loose on here and they're flat against the shoe. And it just gives it kind of a three-dimensional feel. Okay, so how I do this, I kind of go to the back of the chain, and as you know, on the back of a chain there's kind of like these back ridges that go straight, like little dash marks or something. That's what I use. I insert my needle kind of under one of those, and then I'm going to insert it under here right at the top of the shoe. Like, and each stitch should kind of match up since we did a chain of 13 and we have 13 stitches across. It's kind of like a 1-for-1 thing. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my needle under the first back ridge that I can find here. Okay, and then if you can see, That's the ridge on the second chain, the back ridge. And then I'm going to insert my hook under the next one with a scarf. Then find the next ridge, back of the chain. Under that. And again, it's kind of like a 1-for-1 thing, 'cause you have 13 chains and you should have 13 of these stitches on the scarf. And I'm just going to continue inserting under the back ridge of each chain and then into the next stitch on the scarf until I get to the end. You might find it's easier to use a smaller needle. Yeah, that back ridge. Okay, so I've pretty much gotten to the end of this side. So now I'm just going to, since I left my tail long enough, I can just take it right around to the other side and stitch that one down as well in the same manner, just going under each stitch and for every back ridge on the chain there. So I'm going to go ahead and start by it's kind of at an odd spot right now, so I'm going to go ahead and just insert my needle under the first stitch here on this side of the scarf. You can see that. It's going right underneath that just to start out. And then I'm going to find the front of my chain first, and then turn it over and find the first back ridge that I need. It's right there. And insert under the next stitch. And the next back ridge. Under the next stitch. Under the next back ridge. Okay, so I made it to the end of this cuff. So now what I'm going to do is kind of just weave this in and tie it off and then cut my yarn. And just to make sure it's extra secure, I might even take it through from the back side to the front a couple of times. And then the good thing about having this cuff is you can actually kind of hide your yarn underneath of it when you tie it off, so you could even do like a knot. You can kind of just weave it up and around your cuff because you're not going to be able to tell. Just however you want to weave it in till it's good and secure. Like I said, I might even do like a little knot in here somewhere where you can't see it. By kind of taking my yarn and going back through that loop, and then back through the loop I just made, and then pulling it really tight so it ends up behind this cuff where you can't really see it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and weave it in a few more times before I cut it. That's probably good. And again, cut it as close as possible so you don't see your tail sticking out. Okay, and then I'm going to take these other loose ends on the shoe that I've left and tuck those in as well, weave those in with my tapestry needle. And then when I come back, we'll talk about how to attach the shoe on the other side and start that shoe. Okay, so I finished weaving in the rest of my loose ends on shoe 1. So now it's time to make shoe 2. But the first thing is you just have to make sure you know where to attach the yarn for shoe 2, because that's going to determine which direction your toe points in. So wherever, like whichever side you attach the yarn on, like if I would attach it on this side, it's going to point that way. If I attach it here, the shoe's going to end up pointing this way. So what I did to make it easy was I kind of took my scarf and laid it out as if it's already around my neck. So do that, lay it out like this, so your first shoe is pointing to the right. And I would assume if you want both legs to just hang down on either side of your body, you probably want your shoe 2 to point to the left. So you would want to attach it on this side. So you kind of just have to figure out which way you want your shoe 2 to point. I personally want them pointing in opposite directions if they're around my neck, so I'm going to attach it on this side so my toe ends up pointing that way. Because we're following the same pattern for shoe 1, we just want the shoe to point in the opposite direction. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my yarn in this first chain right here. It was actually row 1 of your scarf, and it should be the first chain you made in row 1. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my yarn there. Do my chain. And then now we just follow the pattern for shoe 1, and rows 1 through 4, if you remember, you're single crocheting just across, so you should have 12 single crochets when you're done. So starting in the same chain I just attached my yarn to, just make sure you get in that same chain and single crochet your first stitch. So there's 1, and just working my way that way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So just make sure you have 12 single crochets across, and then you would chain 1 and then turn your work and continue just like we did for shoe 1. So that was row 1. So now you're going to go row 2, 3, 4. They're single crocheting across. And then just continue the pattern for shoe 1 until you get to the very end where it's time to do your edging, the single crochet around the perimeter of the shoe, and then I will meet you back there just to show you one small change that we're going to do, so it ends up looking consistent with this shoe. So just basically you can rewind the video if you need to and just go back and follow along with shoe 1, and we just completed row 1. And remember, since I started here, my toe is going to point in that direction. So just make sure whatever side you start on, that's the side your toe is you want your toe to point. Okay, so I'm finishing up the last row of the shoe, which is row 5. So I'm doing my last decrease, or the single crochet 2 together of the row. And now what you need to do is chain 1 so you can turn it. And now you can start the edging by single crocheting around just like we did with shoe 1, but this time we're actually going in the opposite direction. So if you start, we'll be going in this way, so just single crocheting evenly around the shoe. I'm not going to go the whole way around, just to show you. You'll be going towards the heel this time and around this way. So then the first corner you'll get to is this heel side corner. And so you'll do the same thing. You'll chain 13 once you get to here to make the cuff of the shoe, and then attach it to this corner, and then continue single crocheting evenly around until you get back. And again, it might have been a good idea to put a stitch marker to mark your first stitch here, so you don't forget where you left off, and you'll know what stitch to slip stitch to at the end. And then again, do the same thing. Once you have this side done, go ahead and do your cuff on the other side with your chain 13, and then sew those down to the top of the shoe. And then the last step will be the shoelace. Okay, so I've already made a shoelace for one of the shoes. Like I said, it's just a chain of 160 for the adult size, in whatever main color you chose. So for my scarf it was green, so I did that. Of course you could always change the color if you wanted to change it up. So I'm going to go ahead and start making my other one. And before I start, it might be a good idea to mark, like to use a stitch marker and just mark maybe every 20 or every 40 stitches or so, just so that way if you do lose count, at least you know you have a marker in at every 40th stitch, so you don't have to pull them all out and recount them all again. So that's just a little tip before we start. I'm gonna just count each one of these on camera, and I'm actually gonna mark the 45th stitch, and it might be helpful if you mark your 45th chain as well, because that's gonna help us when we go to lace the shoe. Or if you have your 40th marked, that's fine, and you just count 5 up, but mark the 45th chain if you can. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've already made my slip knot. So I'm going to chain 1, 2, and I'm going to go all the way to 160. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. So I just chained 45. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and mark this chain because that will help me when we go to lace it. So I'm just going to take my stitch marker. Like I said, you could use a paper clip or a piece of yarn, whatever you use to mark stitches. I'm just going to mark this one. Okay, and then I'm going to keep going. So that was my 45th chain, so 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. Then we have to go to 160. So 101, 102, 103, 104, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 160. So I've gotten to my 160th chain, and now I'm just going to fasten off. And so there's our shoelace, and then the next step is I'm going to take this little tail that I left and thread my tapestry needle so we can start threading the shoe. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this shoe. Alright, so now it's time to lace the shoe. So here's my 45th stitch marked. So I'm going to go up on the side of my 160th chain, and then I'm going to thread my tapestry needle with the tail that I left. And now we can go ahead and lace up the shoe. And just, you know, you might have to fool around with it a little bit to get it to look exactly how you want, but kind of pick a spot somewhere near the top. I'm gonna pick about right there. It's about, I would say, about 6 rows down maybe. And pull it through. And the reason I had you mark your 45th stitch was so you know where to stop when you're pulling it through. So that way you don't have to, at the end, like, keep pulling it to try to get even ends. So that way at the end, both ends will be about 45 stitches on each side that you can tie so they're even. So once you have that pulled through, then you're basically gonna wrap it around and kind of do like a crisscross pattern. We're gonna go down almost like in a diagonal and then come back up, crisscrossing over top of these. So then I'm gonna just wrap it around the front and then pick a spot about 2 rows below the last one or so, about where you think it looks pretty good. Maybe about there. I'm just gonna pull that through. So this is what it looks like so far on each side. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, kind of wrap it around and maybe go about 2 rows below and bring my needle back up through. Again, you can redo this as many times as you need to get it to look exactly how you want. And then I'm gonna wrap it around again and go about 2 rows below that one. So maybe right there. And then I'm gonna wrap it around one more time. Same thing, about 2 rows below. Something like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start back up, crisscrossing over the ones we just did. So I'm going to cross over that last diagonal we made. And then it's pretty easy because I'm just gonna put my hook right through where it's already been through and then come out this side right here. So you can see that I'm just inserting my hook right there and the next lace up and then coming back out right over here. And then again, you can fiddle with it to make it look better, but it'll crisscross in the front. And then same thing, I'm gonna go ahead and crisscross over top of this next one and then put it through the same hole as the lace above that, and it should come out the same hole as that. Bring it through. And then again, over top the next lace. And you would do the same thing with your ribbon if you're using a ribbon. And then one more time. And this time I'm going to go over this last one here and I'm going to put it through where my stitch marker is in that same hole and come out right here on that one. And so now hopefully your 2 ends should be pretty even, about 45 give or take on each side, and then you can go ahead and tie those into a bow just like you would a shoe. And then, you know, you can fool with it however you want. And then what we have to do is take these tails and kind of just weave them in down the chain. So throw my tapestry needle again and kind of just go right back down the chain. I'm using those little back ridges and kind of just weaving them in and out of those of my chain. And again, if you wanted to just knot it at the top and have like little knots on the ends, you can do that. I just chose to kind of just weave mine in. I might even make like a little knot here, just to make sure it doesn't go completely loose. Go back under like I just did. Pull it kind of tight so it's not as noticeable on my lace, and then just keep weaving it a little bit more. And then I'm just going to go ahead and kind of cut it off. And there's the one side, and then I just have to do the other side the same way, just kind of weave it down the chain. Or like I said, if you choose, you could maybe even just put a knot at the top and then tie it off that way. It's however you want to finish it. Where are my ridges? Here they are. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to knot it now. Maybe a little more. And cut it off. And then I'm going to take out my stitch marker. I don't need that anymore. And so this shoe is now completely done once you're satisfied with the lacing. And now we can go ahead and lace the other shoe. Here's my second shoelace. I have the 45th stitch marked. Thread my tapestry needle. And then same thing, you can turn it the same way or you can do it from that side. Or I'll just do it the same way. I think I started about the 6th row down on that one, so it's probably around here when I started. I came through this way. And I'm going to stop when I get to my stitch marker at the 45th chain and loop it over and go about 2 rows down. Rows down again. Two rows down again. And then one more time, about 2 rows down. And then start crisscrossing back up to the top. Right through the same holes we've already used. Back over that one. And under that hole. Under that one. Under that hole. And then last time, just under this hole again. Through there. Pull that out. Make sure these are about even. And if they're not, you can adjust and re-pull them tighter. We'll go with that. And then we can go ahead and tie them. And then weave in these tails back up through here. Take the stitch marker out. And then once you're satisfied with that shoes lacing, your scarf is complete and ready to be worn. Okay, so once you're happy with your laces, your scarf is finished. So go ahead and celebrate by popping it on and showing off your work. In making this green one, it actually reminded me of the play Wicked. So this would be an awesome scarf to wear to that. But thanks again for joining me in crocheting my witch leg scarf. And if you enjoyed this, please stop by my site, which is thecraftyourlife.com, and check out my other crochet patterns.